Greetings and welcome back to the cult of SMMI. I'm your host, Scott Mort. Before we delve into today's content, I want to emphasize that everything discussed falls under the broad category of allegedly. The narratives shared today are based on the recollections of Michael Kovacs. I extend an open invitation to any current or former members of the Sisters Minor of Mary Immaculate to join the show, either to challenge or corroborate Mr. Kovacs' accounts. You can reach me at strangepathwaysmail@gmail.com. For those who may have missed the earlier episodes, I highly recommend checking out episodes 1 and 2. In our previous installment, Michael was grappling with the distressing revelation that he had lost power of attorney for his mother. Her care had shifted to his sister Teresa, who holds a prominent position within the SMMI.
I came home. I did everything normally. I went to 5 o'clock mass. I think I need to go food shopping, but maybe we did. But I came home, and I was sitting in my, I guess, workroom or whatever it is, and I get a call, and it's from, I want to say her name, but I won't. But it was one of the nuns at the place in Connecticut in Stratford, not Stratford. I'll get it was in Connecticut where they were at. I'll just call her Sister K. That could be about 30 different names. So Sister K calls me up, and I'm like, Sister K. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? And she's like, you all right? I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's abating a bit, this feeling of being dead, but it's a weird feeling. It's like, well, we got your message last night, and we just come from chapel. From going to mass, we came back, we heard your voice message, and we ran back to the chapel, said the rosary for you. Now, you probably saved my life if I wasn't dead. But I mean, and so this conversation was absolutely pivotal. I didn't know it at the time. But I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm in this weird space, but I'm present, and I'm talking to her, and I do love this person. I really do. We became good friends, really good friends, compadres in this war for a while. And I told her what happened. I said, look, here's what happened and why, why I'm in this space. And she just got really quiet. She was like, yeah, Teresa does that. I'm like, wait, what? I was, wait, what? What are you talking about? Yeah, that happens all the time. You think you've cut a deal with somebody, you have an agreement with this party to trap her and then what you don't know, and you're walking into the meeting or whatever, and you think you got her cornered. And the next thing you know, she's made a backroom deal and you're screwed. And I was like, oh, sorry. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. So she knew exactly what I'd been going through, with it. Well, as close as you can without your mother. But she knew. So then she said something that became a talisman, a literal talisman. The second one in a month that saved my life was, she goes, Mike, you don't know what you're up against. You think you do, but you don't. She goes, but I promise you, you can't take it. You cannot take it on yourself. You're going to have to learn to respect it. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I was like, okay, whatever, cool, thanks. And, bye. I was very happy for her, and I was very grateful for her presence. I don't want to have it think like I was dismissing her, but I still thought I was kind of dead. So I was like, okay, thank you, whatever. And again, she was such a sweetheart. So that one line became like an absolute linchpin for everything. And then over time, once I got some sleep and once I kind of began to, I again realized, no, I'm not dead. But it would be like, for like 20 hours a day, or most of the time I was awake, feel like I was dead. And then over time, like 2-3 weeks, it began to fade away into the back corner. I'm like, oh, I'm actually alive. I'm not dead. Very disgusting feeling that I didn't know about, but that's how bad Teresa and Patrizzi could break people. I mean, they're pros at that. Because I thought I had the ability to take on this force, this cult by myself, and you don't. It took me about it took me 8 more years to learn that. But so that was March. That was the gig in Philly, and then things began to get weird. They began to get weird. My mom got better, but not good enough. She wound up in the hospital this Holy Week of because Jim, you know, our friend Jim from Minneapolis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he came down. He was burying a relative at Arlington, so he came down. I met him in D.C. and we had a wonderful reunion and stuff. Although I was out of my mind because my mom was back in the ICU. She was out of the rehab, but she couldn't swallow, right? Because her swallowing reflexes were screwed, and she wasn't being taken care of well. You know, like the help they got, it wasn't the best that it could be. Okay, just to say it that way. So my mom, it turned out. So that was the Easter week. So Easter Sunday, I remember that week. My wife and I were at Easter Mass, and we got a call. We left and flew to the hospital. My mom was, I'm going to benchmark it at 5. She was like 5'10"-ish, or maybe a little more. But she had a dowager's hump, she had scoliosis. So I never knew her full height, but she had big hands and big feet, and she was so if you imagine a woman who's 5'10", who's who's down to about 100 pounds, 98 pounds, right? We got a problem. She's not eating. So now there's this discussion about her needing a feeding tube. I can roll that back. They didn't know what to do. And my mom is my mom was 80 some pounds, a 5'10" frame and 80 some pounds. So she's withered, but she's not dying from anything. That's the thing that was angering me was, what's your mom dying from? Nothing. I don't know what. It's not like she's got cancer. She's got polio. She's got, some metastatic disease. She's I don't know. It turned out she couldn't eat. So, I thought she was going to die. I was praying to God she wouldn't. So this is still 2011. So I'm in the hospital every day, and I'm there for 7 hours one time, and I'm like, this is bad. So one day, a gastroenterologist comes in, and he says, okay, she's what was she then? 83, 84 years old. We can give her a feeding tube. Okay, we need to do the operation with a feeding tube. It could be dangerous, but that's what she needs. My mom, hardcore to the end, is she agreed to do it. She was still compos mentis, and we both agreed let's never do it. So that was, I think, on the weekend, and then at some point, it was agreed surgery for the feeding tube, because if you don't, this woman's going to die within 72 hours. There is no maybe. She was just going to cash out. So it's agreed, feeding tube. I think that was on a Monday. So then, 2 days later, whatever, let's just say it was a Wednesday, I get a call early in the morning from my middle sister saying, "You got to come over. You Teresa, stop the surgery from happening." I'm like, what the hell? I fly over to the hospital, right? I called the nuns in Connecticut. I'm like, you got to pray for me because this is going down. My mom's going to die. And they're like, we're on it. I'm so sorry. We're on it for you. I get there. It turned out this is what happened. Again, dressed as a nun. My sister Teresa and her sidekick showed up probably at 6 a.m. or sometime before surgery would start. They start early. She showed up with an old, bogus, it was invalid, an invalid medical paper. I forget.
Living will,
where you can't do operations to, some people say, don't give me a feeding tube, don't give me oxygen, don't do this. My mom had an old one that stated that, but it wasn't in her new one. Okay, Teresa shows up with this thing, flashes it in front of the nurses. They hit the brake on the surgery, and it's canceled. Now, my mom is gonna die. She is emaciated beyond the pale. So I get to the house. I'm like, what the hell's going on? She tells me Teresa came in, they canceled it, and we're like, we got to get the new we got to get the new power of the living wills, whatever. She made a new one. So she goes, you take care here. I'm gonna go get him. So she flies down to one of the doctors, and like I think in the middle of the patient, it's like from a movie, gets like, I need these forms, and when she gets all the paperwork and comes back. Now this is so. I'm watching my mom ready to die. Like I'm here in this crisis. So it had been blocked, and so we had the paperwork to have it go forward. So then, oddly enough, this is where it gets very strange. This is the first time I got super freaked out. Another gastroenterologist, I think, came in, and I knew him. Actually, I knew him. He was a very lovely man, very good, very, very good at his work, lovely family, taught one of his children, just a great guy. So he knew me. So we're in the corridor, and we're trying to figure out how my mom can get some nutrition in and not die, but before she can get the feeding tube. So I'm standing there. They're in front of the door. I'm about 6 feet back, and I can see my middle sister and the doctors talking. And maybe my wife was there. I'm not sure. But anyway, no, she was working. But they're there. And then all of a sudden, in the left side of my vision comes Teresa and her sidekick. And as she was coming in, you got this energy feel of like this like dark presence is kind of like just like ready to just kill, like just this thing, like she knew something was up because I cannot again, well, take it for what it's worth. When she went right up to the doctor and heard what was going on, I promise you, I was looking at her and it was like every molecule in her body just did this shift and she changed presence. I cannot describe it, but it was weird. I was like, what the hell? And she was totally calm. Like, oh yes, we should do that. And she was totally for it. But it wasn't just, it was like their whole entire being just shifted. Now, I'd never seen anything like that before in my life from anybody. So she agreed. So she was like, oh yes, I think we should. Because now she was like, oh, fine for it. She got caught, so she decided to wiggle in on the side, and you're going to question a nun. You're going to question a overly caffeinated musician who's having a nervous breakdown. No, you're going to trust the nun. So long and short is my mom did get the gastro surgery and got the tube in. She had a nasal one for a while, for a couple of days to get her some food. And then she got the one in the stomach. She survived the surgery, so we were good to go. But that was a problem because that meant my mother was going to live longer. And that is not what my sister Teresa wanted. She wanted the money for the cult and the house for the cult. So, which leads us to, so you followed me so far? Please stop me and ask questions.
I do indeed follow you. I do indeed follow you.
So she tried to kill my mom once and that failed. So we're going to go for 2 now. So my mom comes home. She has a feeding tube. So this is great. That means she can get nutrients, and she should be getting physical therapy every 5 days a week. Again, I'm not making a lot of money. My wife's doing okay. My middle sister's doing pretty good. We will afford. We will do whatever it takes. Second mortgage on the house. We will do what it takes to have mom be better. But we are being blocked every step of the way from getting better help. So my mom is doing black. You know, man, she's emaciated, right? She just now is getting food in her system. So this is, I guess, June maybe? Oh man, I have so many memories from that hospital stay. But, so at that point, things began to take this weird curve because the attempted murder of my mom didn't work once. So what my sister had to do is go for a second time, and it was very clever, forceful, and beyond immoral. But props to being creative. My mom looked like crap, but there was nothing wrong with her really. She just needed nutrients and exercise and care. That's really what she needed because she's had a stroke. So you need physical rehab. And probably mental rehab and good nutrition and care. That's what you need.
At this point, she's not fighting a cancer. She's not fighting.
No, there's
nothing. Right. There's no leukemia. Nothing going on here.
Nothing. My mom's side of the family, if they didn't do stupid stuff, or if fate wasn't unkind, they would live to be probably like, I don't know, 300. I mean, this is true. Like, they would. They are just these. They are just. Oh my! Like that side of the family. God, they have this stamina. The other side of the family, not so much. So, where I said I don't know, but so she basically her health technically is fine, but she's just weak and needs rehab and help. Okay, so now is where it gets dark. So I was working on a project. Really? Was that then? Yeah, must have been. I was working on it because I can't really remember. I remember the phone call. I was working on a project with a friend at a friend's studio, like 20 minutes from here. And a student who was also my mom's doctor, a lovely man, a great guy, an award-winning oncologist, a sweet guy and a good guy. He calls up and he starts yelling at me. I'm like, oh, hi. And it's like late. I'm like, hi. And he's like, your mother, wants to fight me. I'm like, what's going on here? I don't know what's going on. And I've never heard him yell ever in my life. I've known him for years. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Because your mother's like, I'm not her doctor anymore. And I'm like, please explain. I have no idea. I'm so sorry, but I don't know. Here's what had happened within like 48 hours. It was like the night of long scalpels. Here's what happened. Teresa demanded my mother be put on hospice. Okay, but there was nothing wrong. There's nothing, no cancer, no kidney disease, no liver disease. No, nothing. It was like zilch. Okay, she was just emaciated, needed food, and needed physical therapy and mental therapy. That was it. But she looked like crap. That's what you have to know, right? So
now, if you don't mind me stopping you here for a second, you said this was an oncologist that you knew. Was he? And you said this is your mother's doctor. So
now my mother, yeah.
Yeah, you were saying like she didn't have cancer, so a lot of people are probably wondering, why does your mother have an oncologist?
Well, no, that's okay. Why she went to him in the beginning, I don't know. Now, to all the listeners, understand the following. I don't know what the type is. I'll get it for you next time if we do another interview. My mother had a certain type of blood issue, okay, where they're able to spot it at such a microcosmic level that the doctor can go, you have this, I guess, cancer or whatever it is. You have this, but it's so low that it doesn't do anything. Do you know what I mean? Like the ability to spot it was so, you know what I mean? This is more common than people think. So she had one, but she had high blood pressure. She had high blood pressure. And although she weighed like nothing, she had high blood pressure. So maybe she went to him for that too. But again, there was, I'll find the name of it, but the type of cancer, I guess, that she had, it was at such a microscopic level that that she didn't need any treatment whatsoever. I mean, when she did die, like last year, that wasn't even a trace problem. Okay, so 15 years of it, and it didn't even come up on the radar. Does that make sense? Of problem? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. My mother had cancer, and her oncologist, an absolutely fantastic man, whose name I can't remember right now, makes me a horrible person. But he said he described this as everybody has cancer. It's just how much do you have?
Yeah, there you go. That makes sense. Right. So, so that was her. That was the situation. So, but my mom loved him and she loved him back, and they just great. But that was a problem because he's a cancer. He's an oncologist, right? So he puts people on hospice every day. Okay, so it's not something he takes lightly, but he does it a lot. So he's screaming at me like, your mother called and your sister was on the phone and they left a message saying she's wanting me as a doctor, and I got a certified letter and they canceled me out of being her doctor, something. So he was dismissed as believed of being her doctor. There was a general practitioner 10 minutes away. I can't remember I remember, but I won't say it. He got a letter saying that no longer does she wish to be his doctor. What they did was they went and they got a guy they got a doctor in town, this goofball, and Teresa primed the pump by saying, "Oh, she's so sick. She's really not. She's really, look at her. She's really bad." And my mom looked like crap, but on the books, she was actually fine. That was the thing. So my sister primes the pumps, pulls the nun card out, and this doctor writes her off to be on hospice. I'm losing my brain. There's no reason for this, but now my mom is on hospice. Okay. Now we go into phase 2 of the weirdness.
Join us next week for episode 4 of the Cult of SMMI. If you'd like to reach out to me, and I highly encourage you to do so, I can be reached at strangepathwaysmail@gmail.com. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful week.